this could define the Edmonton Oilers in a game that could either show the cracks in the foundation or give the team fuel to feed off of for the rest of the series against the Los Angeles Kings. All that and more today on Oilers Digest as we recap what was potentially one of the most historic games that could have been in Oiler history. You know, the Oilers version of the miracle on Manchester, but fortunately that was not the case. 74% of you, ironically enough, have not yet subscribed to the channel. So for any and all Oiler content here on the channel, if you're new here, make sure you hit that button down below and subscribe. But folks, let's get into what was, again, certainly not a boring game, but the Oilers snatching defeat from the jaws of victory last night at the Crypto.com arena. Both teams amped up, antsy to get into this one, and they did not disappoint, with the LA Kings unfortunately taking game one by a score of 6-5. We'll get into the scoring summary here. The Kings all over the Oilers in the opening 40 minutes there, or 39 minutes and 5 seconds there, all over the Edmonton Oilers. Andrei Kuzmenko off of the softest holding call on Brett Kulak with a backdoor tap and makes it 1-0 against the Oilers. And shortly before the end of the first, Quinton Byfield banking it off of the back of Stuart Skinner, making it 2-0 Kings. And the Kings add on to that lead with goals from Adrian Kempe and Philip Deneau there before an angry Leon Draisaitl with his first of the playoffs. That was the angriest one-timer I've ever seen him score in his entire career there. He really wanted that one off the stick of Connor McDavid, making 4-1 Kings before the end of the second intermission. You know, in the second intermission, Oiler fans like myself say, you know what, they're making it respectable. You know, if they come back, sure. If they don't, move on to game two. But the Oilers certainly making it interesting with Matthias Janmark scoring a goal. Playoff Janmark has arrived. Everybody with Trent Frederick's first point as an Edmonton Oiler. But Kevin Fiala put the water on those flames with a power play goal there. But the Oilers, 3 straight unanswered off the stick of the worm. Corey Perry, Zach Hyman, and Connor McDavid tying up the game, and it looked like it was going into overtime, but Philip Deneau with a knuckleball or knuckle puck, what have you, with the game winner for the LA Kings, and everybody going to bed angry last night, including myself. You know, what could have been last night here for the Oilers. I mean, somehow that puck still went in the back of the net. Philip Deneau completely fanning on it. Warren Fogle, you can see there at the edge of the screen, providing a screen there in front of Stuart Skinner. But the Oilers, it just wasn't their night. If they showed up from the beginning of the game, this could have been theirs easily, but it took them some time to gel into the playoff series. No, McDavid and Draisaitl hasn't played since, I do believe, together, I should say, March 18th against the Utah Hockey Club, before everybody and anybody on that Oiler roster started getting hurt there. So it took some time for the Oilers to, get to know each other again, and what a high-pressure environment that was last night in Los Angeles. But the Oilers, in the third period, remembered who the hell they exactly were, and they are the Edmonton Oilers, and they woke up. Still couldn't get the win, but you know what, that just, planted some optimism in the minds of everybody after, that first and second intermission, where they thought, okay, this could be a very short series. But the Oilers saying, hey, we've seen this team before, and we know what will potentially happen there. But the Oilers are now 3-11 in game ones in any round of the playoffs in the McDavid Draisaitl era, going back to 2017 there from Zach Lang of Oilers Nation, and from Zach Hyman. He admitted it wasn't our best game. I just think that we can be a lot better. They're a really good team. They play well in this building. Having said that, we gave ourselves a chance to win this game, so I like that we stayed with it, even though there were a lot of opportunities to quit. 5-on-3, guys were blocking shots down 2 there. Didn't get the call we wanted with the coach's challenge of the puck over glass, despite the puck hitting the glass, making a sound in a puck mark being left on the glass. The Oilers, that challenge was upheld, and the call stood there. They had to battle through that and face that adversity. Then to come out and tie the game there, it's still a loss, but I think he can take some positives out of that. And yeah, just, breaking the seal of Darcy Kemper yesterday, that was my main storyline heading into this one. You can forget about, Quinton Byfield, Drew Doughty, Adrian Kempe, Kevin Fiala. The real problem for the Oilers was Darcy Kemper, and the Oilers broke that seal 5 times there, but getting in his grill. And the first period they were just putting floaters on net, easy routine glove saves, but you gotta get in his face, and you just gotta get shots, good shots I should say, on Darcy Kemper. Shots on goal 30-25 in favor of the LA Kings. The Oilers out hitting the Kings 42-30. Not like that matters or anything in the playoffs. Power plays, Edmonton going 0 for 2. Meanwhile, LA going 2 for 5. There are 5 power plays in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Can you believe it there? But the Oilers, again, analytically, 5-on-5, I should say. I don't want to say all over the LA Kings, but it wasn't as dominant as, I expected it to be after this game there. The Oilers, dominating the Kings with high danger chances. 11-5. Corsi, they're getting pucks on net. Fenwick, they're getting unblocked pucks on net there. That's the difference between Corsi and Fenwick. Corsi is any shot attempt. Fenwick is any unblocked shot attempt. I know I've used these stats throughout the year, and you're still probably asking questions, but that is the difference between the two. But the Oilers still getting pucks on net there, and the expected goal is 1.92 compared to LA's 1.59. But goaltending seemed to be a non-factor, or seemed to be non-existent last night. It was a factor, but it was non-existent throughout the second and third period there. Just taking a look at the Oilers forward there. A lot of passengers last night, a lot of players that I would expect, turn it up into the postseason there. Victor Arvidsson, quiet game. Connor Brown, again, a quiet game. And then you have your star players. You have your Leon Draisaitl, you have your Connor McDavids that you would expect to show up when it matters. But you also have your guys that have been here, and you're going, okay, well, where are you? Adam Henrique didn't really do a whole lot much. Jeff Skinner, I mean, it's his first game in the playoffs, first ever career playoff game at the age of 32 years old there. So I'll wait a bit before, hashing out some anger on him. But, it's the guys that you would expect, to turn it up into the postseason. Just not all quiet there. Your Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You got your Zach Hymans, who again, not a strong game, but still a very solid game nonetheless. But of course, Matisse Janmark with a playoff goal there, with a goalie. It wasn't an empty netter, it was with a goalie. So that's the strange part about Matisse Janmark. Doesn't really do a whole lot in the regular season, but when it is the playoffs, he turns it up there. And of course, most of these guys, with the line blender pulled out, not really a whole lot of chemistry being formed throughout the game there. Kris Knoblauch, with his experimentation throughout the game, trying to see what works. So you can see some lines that did work, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Perry, that worked. Some didn't, with Jeff Skinner, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Trent Frederick. So hopefully, Knoblauch can sort of figure that out in, the morning skates, the practices, to see what will stick. Because if you keep doing this throughout the series, sure, it'll confuse the opposition, but it will also confuse your own players too. You need to form some sort of chemistry if you want to think about beating this LA team, who, themselves, fantastic chemistry, line in and line out. Not just the lines, folks, but the defensemen. Some good, some bad here for the Oilers. Evan Bouchard, you can take the good with the bad. They're awful giveaways leading to some Kings goals there, but also 3 assists. And despite all the blunders, he is still a +1 on the night there. I know he has his haters. For a bit there, I was shaking my head at the way Evan Bouchard was just turning over the puck, egregiously leading to some Kings goals. But that's the roller coaster that you ride with Evan Bouchard there. Josh Brown, not sure why he was in the lineup last night. Didn't even crack 5 minutes. He was on that first Oiler PK where you let Andrei Kuzmenko, go untouched backdoor there, and just doesn't really bring a whole lot to the lineup. Ty Emberson, very quiet game, 13-10, but when you're a stay-at-home defenseman, a quiet game is a great game. And then Kulak, Nurse, and Wallman, they're all settling in without Matthias Ekholm. They're playing big-time minutes. Nurse, of course, same thing as Bouchard, to take the good with the bad. Wallman, first game back from injury, didn't notice anything wrong with him whatsoever, so hopefully he can, sort of get back into game shape and play a bigger role for the Oilers in game 2. But with Knoblauch in Evan Bouchard, Mark Spector tried throwing Bouchard under the bus. They're asking Knoblauch if he can expect anything more from Evan defensively. Knoblauch, the kind of guy that he is, he will never throw a player under the bus. He said, I saw Evan give us an excellent opportunity to win tonight. He made a lot of nice plays. Was his game perfect? I'm not sure anyone's game was perfect tonight. So I think Evan's a very important part of our team if we're going to have success, especially when we're missing one of our key defensemen, if not the best defenseman on the Oilers. Our top 4 really has to step up. And I mean, for the Oilers, good news and bad news. I mean, Darcy Kemper, the Oilers, like I said, cracked the seal on Darcy Kemper with a save percentage of .800 there. But the bad news, Stuart Skinner also had a save percentage of 800 there. Of course, not all of the goals were his fault. I'm not planting the blame on Stuart Skinner. Solely on Stuart Skinner. Okay, yeah, maybe that last goal, bit of a screen, bit of a floater. He has to track that puck much better. But the Byfield goal, that second goal where he banked it off the back, lateral movement is just not Stuart Skinner's strong suit there. And, going into the playoffs, we were worried about the inconsistency of Stuart Skinner. And again, I'm not so much mad at Stuart Skinner. I'm mad at the Oilers management for, not looking at the data that the goaltending stats do provide there. I mean, I'm an average Joe sitting at my computer making this video, and I have the same exact, stats model that the Oilers analytic department probably has much better, more advanced stats that they have access to. And if I can see that Stuart Skinner is very streaky, I'm sure that analytics department can also see the faults in Stuart Skinner's game when he is not on his game. There's no two consecutive blue good streaks there. It's always a blue followed by a bad, or unless it's the 2023 playoffs heading into the beginning of last year's regular season there. But Stuart Skinner is very streaky. That's a lot of S words here, folks, but Stuart Skinner very streaky. And the inconsistency is what could lead the Oilers to an early playoff exit if he doesn't tighten up his game. I'm not worried about the Oilers forwards whatsoever. They warmed up into it. They found a way to crack Darcy Kemper. It's just between the pipes there that is worries me at all, unless we see the Dallas series Stuart Skinner. If we don't see that, then who knows what could happen later on down the road in the series. But, Zach Hyman, glass half full kind of guy. Obviously, we fell short today, which sucks, but we have a history of bouncing back, and I'm sure we'll play a lot better in Game 2. And Knoblauch also going on here. The team's very resilient, very, facing adversity. They don't care about that. I've seen it many times last year. They never give up. They're resilient. They stay composed and then focus on what needs to be done. We've seen a lot of adversity over the last two playoffs, and guys stick with it. They're a mature group. They can handle a lot of adversity. They've seen a lot, and they don't get too rattled when things aren't going well. That first 40 minutes, things hadn't gone very well for us. And I mean, we've all seen it after, a Game 1 before with this Oilers team, and they turned it on in Game 2. Of course, Game 1 against the Calgary Flames, they're losing 9-6 against the Flames, and then the Oilers winning 4 straight after that with the gentleman's sweep. So who knows if lightning could strike twice. And with that second game tomorrow night, Wednesday, April 23rd, 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Mountain, at the Crypto.com Arena, hopefully the Oilers can, with their awful record in Game 1s, hopefully they can turn it on in Game 2. But that is it for today's video. I'm not pessimistic yet. I mean, a very sour Game 2, and I very well could be, but this Oilers team, like Knoblauch said, like Hyman said, they got a great record in Game 2s. They're a very resilient team. And I'm very excited to see what kind of Oiler team comes out the gate in Game 2. Certainly it wasn't, the Game 1 Oiler that we saw after that awful harmonica anthem. I mean, that nearly put me to sleep. But let me know your thoughts in the comments about Game 1 last night. And who would you start in Game 2 for net? Would you start Pickard or Skinner? I'm going to make things very spicy today, but let me know down in the comments, folks. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. Take care. I'm Matt.